Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Youth Unmuted podcast, a podcast for youth by youth. My name is Miriam, and today I'm joined by a very special guest. This is Ilhan. This is my friend. How are you doing, Ilhan?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. How are you feeling today to be on a podcast?
I'm good. I'm excited. This is my first podcast. So.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks. When you reached out to me, I was really excited that you remember me. No. But the topic we're speaking on today is definitely one that is close to my heart, that
Yes.
I've been through. So I appreciate you inviting me today.
Of course. I'm very excited to talk about everything today. So I guess I just wanted to say, so me and Ilhan are in a club together that she created called Diversity in Business Association at the University of Alberta. And I guess I wanted to ask my first question, which was, why did you feel that you had to, create Diversity in Business Association? Why did you have to create DIBA? Why do you feel that it is necessary to have it in the business space, considering there's so many business associations and clubs already at the University of Alberta?
Yeah, so before I started my business after degree, I worked as a registered nurse. And so before I transitioned, I remember having a lot of trouble securing employment in certain areas, certain specialties within the healthcare field. And then speaking with my peers in nursing and then in business, such as my younger sister who recently graduated, and my younger brother who I co-founded the club with, just seeing that a lot of students, especially in business, struggle to secure employment after they graduate. A lot of marginalized students struggle to secure employment, and they face a lot of those professional barriers. And business is one of those spaces where you really need connections to get into the field. So, and a lot of students from marginalized backgrounds don't have those connections. So we're hoping to be a bridge between the students and the school and the industry, and then at the same time help with any academic obstacles and just support marginalized students on their post-secondary journey and beyond.
Yes, I am very excited to see everything that you do with this club and where the club takes you and the opportunities you create for the students.
Thank you.
So I guess going back to your nursing career, I was wondering if you could share maybe instances or a specific instance that you felt where you experienced prejudice in the workplace, or just things that stood out to you that made you reconsider your career.
Yeah, so it was really a pattern, I would say, of the way I was being treated. And at the beginning, it was I was really in denial. I'm okay, maybe I'm just not good at this job. But then it's I just kept noticing things and that I was being treated differently than my coworkers who maybe didn't look like me. So there's a few scenarios, for example, where we would all work overtime and then we would all file overtime, and then somehow my overtime would be denied and everybody else would be approved, and it would be for some kind of reason I don't even remember. They would say something and I just was new then, so I was okay, I never filed for overtime before, so I'm okay, well, okay, that must be normal. But it kept happening, and I'm okay, it got to a point where I was just kind of is there even a point of filing for overtime, because I keep just getting my request denied. And then looking back, that's something that I should have reported to HR, because it was definitely inappropriate. And I remember asking questions. Sometimes I would receive an answer that wasn't the correct answer, which is very dangerous because we're dealing with patients, and so it's you are actually, more than you're harming me, you're harming the patient by giving me false information. I remember being reported for things I didn't do. Sometimes they would be okay, you didn't chart for your patient yesterday, and I'm okay, but literally because we use the computer charting, I'm you can look back and look at the charts, and I've recorded everything, and then that would just, my comments would just be brushed off, okay, and I remember the one scenario where I was reported by the charge nurse for not informing her about a procedure that my patient had to go to. But she had literally said to me, "This is the doctor's fault for not telling me in report." but I'm gonna report you for it. So I was kind of confused. I'm like, okay, well, like, what? Why are you reporting me? And that whole day, I hadn't like talked to her, because usually you would go to the charge nurse when you like need something or you're gonna get a new patient. Like, I had no like reason to speak with her, and then like I'm under the assumption that you're aware which of your patients on the unit are going to the procedure, because you do your report with the doctor and the rest of the team. So I was somehow reported for the fault of the doctor. So I even remember, because we had all like, I had been hired with a group of people. We were all like casual employees. And so I remember we were doing like a midterm review, and everyone was saying like, oh yeah, they asked me if I wanted like a part-time position or a full-time position. They asked everybody if they wanted a part-time or full-time position, except for me and my coworker, who was also black and hijabi. Okay. Because I remember going to her, I was like, did they offer you a position? She said no. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
So it was...
So there's a very clear pattern.
Yeah.
I could tell like it wasn't like outright, like you said, like it wasn't like slurs or like something crazy. No. It was just like very like hidden.
Yeah. Definitely. It's like one of those things where you start to think like, am I just like imagining I'm being treated
like
bad?
A psychological horror or something?
Or is there like something going on? But when it boiled down, I'm like, I look at all the experience. And before we like started recording, we were talking about how like I'm slowly starting to like forget things. But then like it all just like, when I think about it, like all comes back. I'm like, okay, that happened. I'm like, honestly, I should have like wrote all down, kept a record of it.
A diary. I'm glad you're out of that space now.
Yes, me
Do you feel like, looking back, when you're thinking about your coworkers and just like the workplace in general, would you have found it a little bit easier to go through these situations if there was someone like sticking with you and kind of like looking out for you, maybe defending you, and just kind of making it seem like, no, you're not crazy, like this stuff is actually happening?
Definitely. I feel like if I had a better support system at work, it would have changed my experience a lot. And I say this to like my younger siblings all the time. I'm like, sometimes what makes work is your coworkers. Like, who you work with affects like how you feel and your work environment so much. So I think if I had someone who like maybe wasn't even going through this scenario, but just was like even an outsider looking and being like, okay, I'm noticing these things. And I did have like, I remember one nurse close to like before I left, she was like, she's like, these people are going to like suck the kindness out of you. She's like, they're gonna like turn you. But then again, it's like, she was never like evil. I don't know what she was. She's like, they're gonna like suck the kindness out of you, like they're taking away like all your kindness. So I'm like, okay, but it was like one of those things where it's like she wouldn't be in a scenario where she's like felt comfortable, I guess, like saying something or standing up and whatnot. But just like, she was kind of, I guess, giving me advice, like, take care of yourself, because like no one is looking out for you here. But yeah, definitely if I had people who would like support me, who would like stand up for me, who would like kind of acknowledge that they're noticing what's going on as well. I feel like that would have changed my experience there.
100%. And do you feel that you kind of faced stuff from the patients as well, or was it mainly coworkers?
I would say mainly coworkers. Like I was having this conversation with my younger brother a bit ago, and we were saying how he was saying like, oh, a lot of times when I speak to people in healthcare, they say they face like racism, prejudice, or just like disrespect and whatnot from patients. But I like can't even pinpoint a time where I really like had any like conflict with my patients. Usually we got along, we had like a good rapport. We like had a good like patient like provider relationship. Like it was mostly definitely from the other nurses. And even like when I think back, like other healthcare professionals, like the social workers that we had, the healthcare aides, like the housekeeping staff, the doctors, and like the physiotherapists, like all these professionals, I remember getting along with them very well and having like a good working relationship. But it was mostly like the nurses that I was like, I wouldn't say butting heads, but that were like treating me badly. But yeah, patient wise, I never really experienced any like racism, prejudice from my patients and families. I actually really loved working with them. So when I stepped away, I was like, that's one thing I'm gonna really miss about the career.
I guess I kind of just assumed that it would be from all areas and not the people that you're directly working with. Because I guess one would assume that like there's a respect between like different coworkers. Like if you're gonna like just like a mutual understanding, you're both here, you both worked the same way to get here, worked hard to get here. Yeah. You're both on the same level of education. Like, or not to assume that everyone's with an undergrad, but you know, like you're both, you put the work to be here. So there'd be like a respect of like, we're at the same level, we can treat each other with respect. But I guess that's not the case.
No, unfortunately it wasn't. Yeah. And that's a big I would say stereotype in nursing is like nurses like are bullies, like nurses eat their young. We would hear that so much as students. And I just kind of like brush it off. I was like, okay, like, you know, but then like going into the workplace, I'm like, okay, there was maybe some truth to that. But yeah.
And so I guess coming out of all of that, do you have any, you know, some advice for anyone going through like something like this right now where they're just like facing some weird prejudice in the workplace?
Yeah, I would definitely say, first of all, like, know that if you notice it, there's probably a reason for it. It's not like you're imagining like, okay, I'm being treated differently. There's probably a reason that you feel that way. Yeah. And so like your experience, you know, is valid. You know, it's not that you're just like making these things up. You know what I mean? Definitely like be confident in yourself and your skills, and you deserve to be there. Yeah. Because that was one thing where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm just not good at this, but it wasn't the case, because I had a good like working relationship with like my patients and their families, and like I did what I had to do every time I went on to the shift. But it was definitely like you are noticing those things probably because there is something happening. Exactly. And it doesn't mean you're actually like a bad like employee or whatnot. It's you should know like you worked hard to be there. You deserve to be there. Yeah. What else? I would say stand up for yourself, because that's one thing I regret not doing, and just like calling out those behaviors and being like, okay, I do notice that you're doing this. Like, why is my overtime being denied? Like, your reason doesn't make sense, you know? Yeah. And maybe even like escalating it. Like when I say like write down, like I think it is actually very important to write it all down and keep a record of it. And honestly report it, go to HR. Like things like being denied your overtime, they're not allowed to do that. Yeah. You know, even if you're new, like know your rights and everything, know like what your responsibilities are in the workplace, what their responsibilities are in the workplace, and like report it and get like an official record. Because even if nothing comes of it, it's nice to have something that like this stuff was going on. And sometimes like even though it's like maybe people didn't truly change, that will like cause them to change their behavior.
That's true. At least it'll bring some sort of attention to it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was probably like as you're starting out in your workplace, I bet it was really intimidating to even like take a step, because you're still like, you feel like you're still learning, so maybe this is just like the normal, and you didn't want to rock the boat, you know? Exactly. So I feel like if I was in your position, I would have done the exact same thing, just because we're kind of like not really taught to do much. Like it's just like, you know, kind of comply, try to just see it out. Yeah, because you don't want to do even more damage, because you feel like already being there, you're kind of creating like a disturbance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's kind of, because I did speak with somebody before who was in healthcare. I think they were a dietitian, I want to say, and they were somebody who stood up for themselves, and maybe it was taken like the wrong way, they were telling me. So it's like you hear stories like that, and that kind of makes you shy away, because you're like, okay, maybe people are just gonna think I'm like, you know, exactly. They're just gonna like find even more reason to like treat me badly. But I think it is important to like call it out still, and like acknowledge it, because either way I was like staying silent didn't really help me either. So if I could go back in time, I definitely would be like, okay, why is this happening? Like, I do notice this, you know?
Exactly. And do you feel like, you know, as a Black hijabi woman, like the intersectionality of it, do you feel like that definitely played a big role? Like if you were, for example, I don't know, like hijabi but not Black, or Black and not hijabi, or just a white person, like, do you feel like that would have made a difference?
I definitely think so, because I went to school with people from like a lot of different backgrounds, and I'd say each of us had our own like unique experiences with discrimination. And so I think definitely being like Black and a hijabi kind of is like, you get those layers, you know? And I remember in our one clinical where we had I had some friends who were Black, and we were called like the N-word.
Oh.
And this is like, I won't say what population we were like working with.
Wait,
this wasn't in the hospital though.
It wasn't in the hospital?
No, it was like a community healthcare, but I won't say like the specific like population we were working with. But it wasn't like patients or anything, but we were called the N-word. But then I was also called like a terrorist too, which is something, you know, like when we were called the N-word, with that kind of like, I remember we were like, oh my God, I can't believe like that, you know. But then it's like when I got called terrorist, I'm like looking around, I'm like, oh, it's just only me. I'm on my own on that one. So definitely it's like it creates this like unique, your own unique experience.
Okay, so you got double time. Okay, I'm so sorry to hear that. Actually, what did they like say it out of? Like, could you explain a little bit more at the context? Like, was it just like out of hatred or what? Like, what?
It was like just they were passing by. They said it. It wasn't patients. Like we were working in the community.
Okay,
like it was like a community. Like
that is bizarre. Like I'm so sorry.
And our clinical instructor was like, why didn't you guys, and we didn't say anything about it.
Okay.
And then after we were chatting about another scenario, and we were like, we brought it up, and then she's like, why didn't you like say anything to me? Like, why didn't you talk to me? And we're like, because we felt like nothing could be done about it. So we're like, what was the point of saying it? But then she kind of gave us good advice where she's like, even if you feel like nothing's going to change, it's important that like we confront it and we say something still, because it's not appropriate. And I'm like, okay, yes, true. So,
and we were talking earlier about like names and how even just like your name kind of feels like a barrier sometimes. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Do you remember what we said about that?
Yes, yeah. Like we were talking about how with the resumes, like and how like you just seeing your name on the resume can sometimes just lead to you just getting rejected.
Yeah.
But yeah, your name is part of your identity. We were saying how we put fake names when we go to like you know, you get coffee and whatnot. You just like give a fake name. Like if mine was Ellen, yours Mary, I think, right?
Yeah, like just going to a coffee shop and having, because they don't like, they're not familiar with your name.
Yeah.
And obviously, like I'm not gonna blame them for not knowing how to like spell the name, but also it's just the fact that you have to like constantly repeat it, constantly have to like, you know, it's just, it gets a little tiring, so you just go like, oh yeah, my name is Mary, and then Ellen.
I just say Ellen. I think I was telling how when I was younger, people would read my name as Ethan all the time, just be like, okay, Ethan, right? And then my whole class would be like, it's Elhan, you know, like, so
just that another added layer, but it's okay because we're gonna stand up for ourselves. We're going through it every day. Okay.
Yes, exactly. And then I think we're saying with resumes and stuff, it's hard because you can't just like change your name, you know. That's like your given name, and you shouldn't have to even feel the need to change your name, right? You should be able, it's part of your identity, but exactly, it's hard. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And you were mentioning how like some people have like name blindness when it comes to resumes.
Yeah, they just like block out they don't look at any of the names. They just like assess your like experience and education and whatnot and hire based on that. But I've seen some things where people say it's actually like kind of a double-edged sword, because like then you are just basing it on like experience credentials, but at the same time they're like sometimes you just will like end up hiring the same type of people even though you're doing the name blind. And like instead we should just like acknowledge and like encourage diversity in our workplaces.
Exactly.
You know.
Yeah. So. And I guess a final question that I have for you would be, now that you're starting your career in business and you're almost done, how many years do you have left in your undergrad?
A year and a half.
Or not your undergrad, sorry, you're after.
After degree. It's also an undergrad. Yeah. You're good.
How many years did you say, sorry?
A year and a half.
Okay, so you're almost done. How do you, like, as you're starting to take those steps, you're finishing up, how are you going to take this experience and kind of move forward with your future degree, your future career? You know, like, what kind of steps are you going to take to make sure that maybe you approach things differently and just, like, ensure that, you know, you're successful and that you just, even if you go through something like that again, that you remain resilient and that you know you're going to do, like, you're going to be able to handle it this time. Yeah.
So I think that definitely I will, like, be confident. I think before we were discussing imposter syndrome.
Yes.
Previously. So it was, like, definitely, like, tackling that imposter syndrome, being confident in, like, my knowledge and my skills, that I actually, like, know what I'm doing.
Yeah, exactly.
And, definitely stand up for myself if I notice anything, like call out any of those behaviors. Like, okay, I do notice that, so like why is that being said, or like, you know what I mean? Exactly. Like challenge that like way of thinking. But yeah, I would definitely say that I will approach my career and how I deal with people differently.
Yeah.
Maybe now, especially that I've had that experience and I'm older and
you can recognize it easier.
Yeah, I can recognize it easier. Definitely not allow myself to be treated the way that I was treated. And like if it needs to be like taken to someone higher up or like report to HR, like ensuring that I actually do that and like keep a record of what's going on.
Yeah, exactly.
But
and I feel like especially now that you've gone through it, you know what to look for, and if you see it happening with other people, you're able to also handle that effectively. And you know how to look out for others, which I feel like is incredibly like important, and I feel like it's gonna be really good.
100%. Advocate for myself and whatnot. I want to make another comment that kind of like bring like a positive light to it. And like I think before we recorded, we were also talking about like occupying leadership positions. In a lot of like spaces, leadership is not people who are like diverse. Or like we don't have like diverse leadership, I guess is a better way of saying it. But I was gonna say like being diverse in the workplace is so important, because I remember when I was working as a nurse, there were so many patients that I could connect with very effectively because like we were from a similar background, or like I would like translate for them. I would like, if they're Muslim, I understood like their dietary restrictions and whatnot. I'm like, okay, don't give this patient that. And so it's like being in those spaces and taking up those spaces is so important. So again, it comes back to like take up that space, be confident in yourself as well.
And it's probably incredibly encouraging to like see someone that looks like you, or at least gone through similar experiences as you. It encourages you to want to achieve more, but also make you feel more comfortable in the space that you take, because it's like, well, no, actually it's perfectly fine that I'm here because someone else has done it, so why wouldn't I do it? And I really hope you find someone like that as well in your future. Like I hope you, because right now you're doing that for so many people. You're doing that for me, doing that for others, so it's like I hope you find someone. And honestly, I think even just having yourself, I feel like you've gone through a lot, you've created a path, and as you get on, like I feel like it's going to hopefully be a little bit easier to handle those situations. And I really hope you don't face any more, because I know the stories back then are a little bit endless. We were literally like talking and we were like, oh yeah, this happened and this happened and this happened. I was like, girl.
There's so many times where I just like keep remembering, it like piles up and I'm like, okay, wow, that a lot actually happened. But yeah, it's important that we all support one another. Sometimes it's like you are the only person who like looks different or is different in your workplace, you know, so just like, you know, remember also have like a support system outside of like your work and just in life is so important. People you can talk to. And sharing your stories, kind of just like telling people what happened and trying to make sure that you're not crazy and to not feel crazy and to not lose your mind. But thank you so much for sharing your story with me and just like coming here and talking to me about everything. And I had a really great time. Thanks everyone for listening. And bye. Thank you.